What's up? What's good? Welcome in. You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now. I'm Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we're answering your questions from all of our real ones and our subscribers and addressing your hot takes here on the docket. First, 76ers Celtics, one of the best rivalries in all of sports, even though there is that old adage, a rivalry is only a rivalry if both sides win. And for us, unfortunately, it's been one-sided because the Boston Celtics have dominated us, being our daddies. But we can get a dub against the Celtics here inside the walls of Chat Sports. We need more likes than our Celtics channel. So if you hate Boston like me, F Boston, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Question number one coming in from our guy Reed. Should the 76ers think about benching Tobias Harris? It's ugly right now, I have to tell you. And when Joel Embiid is out and you're paying a player the likes of Tobias Harris's contract, and he's giving you little to nothing, it really just exasperates what issues the 76ers are dealing with right now. And it's unfortunate because Toby's in a contract year. He's looking to get a bag. You can sense that he's really dealing with the pressure in a negative way. And the Sixers need him to step up because they need another option outside of Tyrese Maxey. You're paying him damn near $40 million to be that guy, but nothing really matters for the Sixers if Toby is just going to continue to be in the witness protection program. 8 games played over his last 8 in February, 15 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists, and look at the shooting numbers here. 45.5%, under 24% from downtown. He's clearly pressing, has no confidence. And to answer your question, Reed, I think that the only option here is to bench Tobias Harris to try to get that confidence back, to try to take the pressure off of him. He's shooting just 35% from the field, 25% from 3 since the All-Star break, scoring 10 points per game in 30 minutes per game. Again, when Embiid is out and he's playing that poorly, you're going to continue to slip down the Eastern Conference standings. And we've seen what has happened with Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors. And Klay, far better, far more accomplished player than Harris. He didn't take the news well from the jump, but he's been awesome coming off the pine for Steve Kerr. Now, you've had to make some sacrifices elsewhere. Moses Moody is out of the rotation for the Warriors, as Steve Kerr talked about. But Klay, look at the numbers here. 18.5 points per game, almost 46% from the deck, 42% from beyond the arc. So if someone like Klay Thompson can accept a bench role and then succeed within that bench role, Tobias Harris certainly can. And he can still close games. You know, when I went to Temple University, Fran Dunphy would always say, when people would ask him about the starting 5, he said, I'm not really worried about who your starting 5 is. It's about your closing 5. And Harris can still close, but maybe by bringing him in off the bench, it just changes his psyche a little bit. What do you think? Should the Sixers bench Tobias Harris? B for bench, S for start. You got to try to do something right now. So I'm going toward the former in benching him. SMS, as bad as I want Joel Embiid to be back, I think we should rest him until the NBA playoffs. It all comes down to how he's feeling, what the rehabilitation process is like, and to the degree as far as the percentage that he is in coming off that knee surgery. Embiid is going to need time to ramp up for the playoffs, but you can't risk further injury. You want to get him acclimated with some of the new pieces that you're bringing in a Buddy Hield and a Kyle Lowry and a campaign. You've tinkered with this roster a little bit, but if he's not 100% healthy, it just makes no sense to bring him back earlier. If he's 100% full go by the time the playoffs comes around, you're going to have to deal with some of those conditioning problems for sure, but he's your franchise pillar, and you're equipped with the most cap space in the NBA this upcoming offseason. We already know that Philadelphia is kind of looking ahead to next year as compared to this year. Philadelphia's still 5th in the Eastern Conference standings. 4-5 matchup against the Knicks would be difficult, but Joel Embiid has actually played very well against the Knicks throughout his postseason career. Will JoJo be back this season? Who the heck knows? I mean, you're talking about a 7-footer here with knee issues, who has had an issue with this particular injury, and if he does, is it going to be in the regular season? Is it going to be in the playoffs? I honestly have no idea. Justin Fowler, Who would you want to go after in free agency, Paul George, Klay Thompson, or LeBron James? I think the most impact player for the Sixers timeline would still be LeBron James, crazy enough, even though he's approaching 40 years old. You signed him to 1 year, 2 year deal. I still think he's playing at an elite level. I think he's a little bit better than Paul George. Of course, I'd love to have LeBron. That being said, yeah, he's 39 years old. Outside of that, you think about fit. LeBron is probably the better player, but fit, it's probably Paul George who is the better fit on this team. He's a little bit younger, still a two-way player, and he's not going to demand the basketball as much as LeBron James. So Paul George this year, 52 games played, he's been durable, which has been an issue, 22 points per, 45.5% from the floor, and almost 40% from three-point range. He can play off-ball, on-ball, playoff starter, playoff closer, and a guy who can really make you pay from all three levels. As far as putting the biscuit in the basket, is he a better defensive player than LeBron James at this stage? Yeah, he might have the slight edge on the defensive end. All depends if the Clippers re-sign him, and he probably wants to stick with the Los Angeles Clippers. It's going to be interesting to see how that Clippers team fares in the playoffs. James Harden has come up short in a lot of playoff games. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, they've been injured a lot. The Clippers as a whole have never made it to an NBA Finals. So all depends if the Clippers re-sign him. They have not been willing to pay up yet, but with the new arena set to open here down the pipe, they're going to want this nucleus to be together to bring in fans, to draw in some eyeballs. I'm not as high on Klay Thompson as others might be. It depends on how much he's asking for, but play has gone downhill. Injuries have gone up. Now the Warriors are bringing him in off the bench. So you pick. Star-studded list here. LeBron, Paul George, Klay Thompson, all just massive members of this generation of NBA basketball. Let me know down in the chat right now. I want to let you know about Factor Meals. As the great disciple Tyler Jones once said, good. 50% off using the code SixersChat50. Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Wherever tomorrow takes you, be ready to have these pre-prepared, chef-crafted, and dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. That's right, delivered right to your door. You're going to have over 35 different options a week to choose from, including keto, calorie smart, vegan plus, veggie, and more. And there's even more to enjoy with over 55 nutrition-packed add-ons that help make your weekly meal planning even more delicious. My people, my homies, my real ones, what are you waiting for? Get started today and have a feel-good week of meals ready to go. All you have to do, pick your pre-made meals, prepped and cooked to perfection, and you put them in the microwave for a couple of minutes. You heat them up and you enjoy them. And the best part about this is you save time. You don't have to go to a grocery store, worry about meal prepping or cleaning up. And you save money as well. 50% off. FactorMeals.com/SixersChat50. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to put that link down below in the comment section. It's also dangling in the description of this video. D-Money6610, how do we feel about a Joel Embiid trade? Or how about we trade Joel Embiid when we get back? Let's set the record straight. You don't trade Joel Embiid unless he asks out. And I know that he's injured this year, had to undergo that knee surgery. It sucks, right? Because he was averaging 33 points per game before that injury. I honestly feel like the NBA putting pressure on Embiid and him having to come back worsened that knee injury that he suffered at Golden State. Now he's going to be out for a little while and has been out for a little while. But Embiid, compared to the national narrative, has actually been like somewhat healthy. And if you do trade him, Morey would ask for so much. Multiple first-rounders, multiple franchise-altering pieces. I don't know if any team would be willing to pay up for an older big. And Joel Embiid is one of the most special players that we've ever seen in the history of the NBA, considering the size, the athleticism, the three-level scoring ability, how he has an array of offensive moves in his pocket that replicates Kobe Bryant and MJ. Like, he is one of one. And you look at the games played. Last year, 66. Year before that, 68. Year before that, 51. That's pretty good for a big with injury history, right? And in 2023, 2024, the fact that he was averaging 35 and 11, 53% from the floor tells me that he's still in the midst of his prime, and hopefully this knee surgery is able to have him avoid any future injury issues. I hope that Embiid is a Sixer for life, and I hope he also wins a championship here. He wins a championship here, it would just be icing on the cake, and it would be the cherry on top of the Shirley Temples that he was said to love early in his career. Tyrese George, that Darius Bazley signing, is underrated. Tall, athletic wing defender with some shooting ability, and he's young. This is a player with pedigree. You know, for him to go to OKC, he played a lot, but the efficiency numbers were awful to start his career. You look at what he did with Delaware at the G League level, 20 points per game, 9 rebounds, 47% shooting, 2.5 blocks. You're right, though, in your assessment of him. You know, he's long, he's lanky, he can defend, he can guard the rim. The jump shot just isn't quite where you'd like it to be for him to get consistent NBA minutes. He's certainly athletic and has those traits. Interesting long-term option. Still a guy in his early to mid-20s who could be a developmental piece for an organization that I think has done a decent job of developing players. Love me now, 33. Sixers got screwed big at the deadline. Everyone is saying trade with Chicago for Andre Drummond. That was a done deal. Morey had absolutely zero reason for concern that they would be pulling out. Pause when out of nowhere, that's exactly what happened at the 11th hour with no time for Philadelphia to put together a plan B. You're right in the sense that a lot of people are ripping Philadelphia for not fortifying back up big at the trade deadline. At that point, you still didn't know what the Embiid injury timeline was going to be. You still had confidence that B-Ball Paul was going to be able to play good hoop. But we've been saying for years that the Sixers have to take up that backup big and have to take backup big, I should say, a little bit more seriously. Andre Drummond, good option. Dwight Howard, good option. Outside of that, Philadelphia, knowing the injury history of Embiid, hasn't really locked down on that position. Andre Drummond would be perfect. This team needs size. They need rebounding desperately. Drummond does that at a really high level. I like what B-Ball Paul Reed has done. Mo Bamba is pretty much unplayable at this point. It's hard to believe that he was a first-round pick coming out of Texas. You know, the Orlando Magic took a shot on him just because of the athleticism, but he's just not an NBA player, really, to get consistent rotation minutes. Paul Reed, February number is not bad. Like, you're paying him a sizable salary, 8.5 points per, 8.5 rebounds, 50% from the floor, block and a half. That's pretty damn good. But if you had him and Andre Drummond, who's averaging damn near a double-double in the month of February, giving you that block, he's been one of the best rebounders of this generation at the center spot. It's a shame that the Bulls are so poorly run. Like, how can they instill any hope in the fan base that this is going to be the year or that's going to be the year? Outside of the Derrick Rose years in which he wasn't hurt before that ACL tear that, ironically enough, he suffered against Philadelphia, they've been such a bad organization and poorly run team since Michael Jordan and the short amount of time that Derrick Rose was an MVP caliber player. Brittany Wilson, we got some long messages and mailbag components in our show. I love it. Spitting that basketball knowledge. Everybody is looking for the next face of the NBA. Well, folks, why not Tyrese Maxey? He's likable, he's young, and he's coming into his own. His market is big. And soon the Sixers will have to make a decision on Embiid. Might have to trade him and get a haul and build around Maxey, kind of like Kobe took off after Shaq was gone. He became the man. I don't think that you have to trade away one to keep the other. I still think that you can have Maxey and Embiid, especially with the salary cap being what it is and max contracts being what they are. But I do agree with you with Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey has been a blossoming star. He's gotten better every year that he's been in the NBA. He's continued to take leaps. He's continued to grow upon his offensive game. We wanted to see what he would look like distributing the basketball and being in a point guard role for Philadelphia. He's tackled that head on. He's been the primary ball handler. His distributing numbers have been pretty good, 6.3 assists. He's doubled up on those numbers nearly from what he did last year. Look at the points per game. 8, 17.5, 20, 26. He becomes an all-star reserve this year. I think that he already is a superstar in this league and a building block for your organization. I'm going to hold off, as we noted, on the Kobe comparisons because they're two completely different players, but Maxey, he's a stud. Could you imagine If Maxey wins this team a playoff series without Joel Embiid, how impressive that would be. No telling how good he could be and can be down the road because the sample size of what we've seen, he's only continued to get better. Can Maxey win the 76ers a playoff series without Joel Embiid? Y for yes, N for no. Don't forget to subscribe. I will be in Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine this upcoming week. Still videos to come here on the channel. Not sure if I'll be on them. Just wanted to let y'all know. But when I come back, we got some bullets in the chamber ready to rock.